Welcome to today's deep dive for the podcast. Our mission today is to unpack a single, really powerful source of devotional text titled Day 12, The Strength to Forgive.
It's definitely a heavy one.
Right. And, wait, we are looking at its radical framework for handling interpersonal hurt, which redefines forgiveness not as a transactional apology, but as an act of personal liberation. So, okay, let's unpack this. The text starts with a pretty blunt reality.
It really does. What's fascinating here is just how direct it is. It basically says, look, if you're in a relationship, whether it's a marriage, a friendship, or, just a dynamic with a coworker sooner or later, you are going to get hurt.
Disappointment is basically guaranteed.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
And the core thesis here is about what happens next. The author argues that holding on to that hurt, that unforgiveness, is this massive psychological and spiritual weight.
Right?
It drains your joy and completely steals your peace. But crucially, it doesn't stay contained. It quietly dictates how you treat everyone else. So innocent bystanders end up suffering for wounds they never caused.
Yeah, that makes me think of that old saying, like, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Or, like, wearing a backpack full of jagged rocks every day and accidentally hitting innocent people with it.
Precisely. The resentment literally metabolizes in your own system.
But, I'm struggling a bit with the practical application here. Let's say someone totally betrays my trust at work, right? Maybe taking credit for my project.
Oof, yeah, that is tough.
Right, if I just release my desire for revenge, aren't I just signaling to them that they can walk all over me again? Like, where's the line between forgiving someone and just being a total doormat?
Well, that is a very real dilemma, and it's exactly why the source explicitly redefines what forgiveness is not. Forgiving that coworker doesn't mean pretending the theft didn't happen.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. It doesn't excuse the bad behavior, and it absolutely does not mean removing healthy boundaries. You can forgive them and still refuse to ever work on a project with them again.
Wow, okay.
Forgiveness, in this framework, is purely an internal conscious choice. You are choosing to release your own desire for retaliation. And from this text's spiritual perspective, you are handing the ultimate demand for justice over to God.
Okay, so if we establish that forgiveness isn't just letting someone off the hook, professionally or personally, it begs the question, how do we actually find the motivation to do it?
That is the big question.
Especially when, we are the ones who were clearly wronged.
The text answers that with a complete paradigm shift, which is grace. Specifically, it points to the biblical verse Ephesians 4.32, because we usually view forgiveness as a transaction, right?
Right, like a receipt. You apologize, I forgive.
Exactly. But this source argues that forgiveness is an act of grace, which means unmerited favor. You give it precisely because it isn't earned, just as the text says God forgives us.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because that implies you don't wait for the apology.
You don't.
That completely upends the power dynamic. If you aren't waiting for an apology, you aren't held hostage by the other person's timeline or, their ego.
Exactly.
How does the text suggest we actually put that into practice?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the first step it recommends is praying for the person who hurt you.
Wait, really? Praying for them?
Yeah, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it forces a shift in your own heart, moving you away from hostility. But the source makes a highly practical distinction here between forgiveness and reconciliation.
Okay, I'm listening.
It advises taking steps toward repairing the relationship only if it is wise and possible. This is vital. You can fully forgive someone internally while simultaneously recognizing that letting them back into your life is physically or emotionally unsafe.
Phew. That distinction is a relief. It really takes the pressure off having to fix things that might just be broken beyond repair.
Absolutely.
But then the text takes this a step further inward, talking about forgiving yourself. How does that mechanism actually work?
Well, the author points out that we are often our own harshest critics. The internal process of forgiving yourself relies entirely on accepting that concept of grace we just talked about.
Unmerited favor.
Yes. If you truly believe grace has already removed your guilt, continuing to carry it around means you are actually rejecting that grace. To find freedom, you have to mentally align your self-perception with that unearned favor.
So you intentionally drop the guilt because paying an emotional debt that has already been canceled makes no logical sense.
You nailed it.
So, kind of wrapping this up, the text captures this entire philosophy in one quote that really sticks with you. And it is, forgiveness does not erase the past. It removes its power to control your future.
Exactly. And the central life principle here is that choosing to forgive isn't a sign that the pain was small. It is a sign that grace is greater than the pain.
It's about flushing that poison out of your system once and for all. Which leaves you with something to ponder today. If releasing revenge changes your future entirely independently of the other person, how would your daily life shift if you completely detached your identity from the wrongs you've suffered?